What is shaking out there, everybody? JT here in the Studio 10-4 live. Another week in the books, man. It's happening right here in front of us. It's 5 o'clock somewhere and maybe later where you're at. But Studio 10-4 live, the weekly update for August 20th, 2025. Man, been a week so far, hasn't it? I mean, I don't know if y'all are paying attention out there or not, but it has been a week. And it's not over yet. There's more to come. So, uh, and I'm speaking what's going on in our country and what's happening right before our eyes. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, you did. You made it. Good to have you back. Kim, John, what's going on? Kevin, doing good here, man. Ontario, Canada, in the house. Nice to have you. Yeah, things are happening, man. Things are happening. And some of it, is our world around us in the bigger picture. Some of it is our immediate involvement in our industry and what's going on. Well, hello, honey. John, I know you're saying that to Kim. I hope. Uh, there's a lot going on. Pick whatever lane you want to stay in, and a lot of us overlap, so that's okay, man. We're all Americans, I think, here for the most part. Maybe some Canadians, I guess, and others that do visit our show from other countries. So I take that back. So some of us are Americans. Most of us are Americans, probably here in the audience. But we welcome everybody from everywhere. So listen, thanks for showing up, Mike. What's going on, Randy? Good to have you, buddy. Good to have you. There is a lot of cool stuff that's been happening. There's some great shows going on in the country. We are in that kind of winding, dare I say, kind of winding down. We're not really winding down. We're just going through it. We're still going through the show season. Dan and Shan are going to be up in Brooks, Oregon this weekend at the Brooks Truck Museum up there for that the yearly show that goes on. Real nice one. In fact, I've been up there a few times. I might even just jog up there and go check it out Saturday myself. I don't know yet, but it's within range, so not a too long a deal, but it's there. I look around at all the different details in my notes. I'm looking at different stuff, and I want to try to go in the positive direction here. And I know there's so much that everybody's so concerned about. And depending on who you are, where you are, what you are, how you think, all that, what I might consider to be a positive thing, you may not. I don't know. So I hope we're all close to the same page. I think most of us are. There's a lot of good things going on in our country, and I'm going to stay on that trend. We got a great lineup here for you guys today. First of all, I want to say, how about that 10-4 Trucker Rodeo coming up? We got registration open, and we want you guys to get on over there and get registered for that. It's coming up in November, but why wait? Get it done now. Commit. Let us know you're coming. Can't wait to be down there again with you guys and hanging out. It's going to be a good time. The Souza Memorial is coming up, and going to be at that show. So I'll look forward to seeing everybody down there, and as well at Bobtail. Look forward to seeing everybody at the Bobtail Apparel Show down in Dixon. And you guys head on down to those 3 shows. You'll be able to hang out with Team 10-4 at all 3 of those. Well, especially in November down in Bakersfield at Kevin Harvick's Kern County Raceway. And that's where we're going to be at for the 10-4 Trucker Rodeo. Our lineup today, I got Chris Fiffe waiting to get in here, and Chris and I are going to talk about some stuff that's been going on. He's had some fun here in the last couple of months, and he's had some not so fun in the last couple of months. So we're going to talk both things. We're going to talk about shows that he's been to because he's been out on the road. We're also going to talk about business-wise what happened to him. Chris let the devil in, I guess, and that's, one way to put it, but let somebody into his world and lost his Facebook account for Big Rig Videos. Lost all of his followers, over 800,000 of you. And he's starting over. And with the things the way they are now in Facebook, and man, let me tell you what, I'm like up to here with it. I just there's so many broken pieces to this platform. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm glad. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm happier. If you're on X, fantastic. You know, wherever you're watching us at, we appreciate it. And in fact, I'm going to bring our comments in too, so they're coming up live. But Facebook has so many issues, so many problems, so many broken pieces, parts, and things to it that just don't work. And then they put it out there a certain way that it's supposed to work and supposed to look, but it doesn't do either. And you try to get a hold of support and can't get any. And when I'm calling up and I know more than they do, that concerns me. I shouldn't be telling them how to do it. And in fact, Chris and I have had this conversation, but there should be a point where a guy like me gets immediately accelerated to the top tier support. Yeah, Dan's right. Dan, you're hitting it right on the money, buddy. And we haven't gotten there. Scammers, Mike, we're going to get into that too. The support is just not there. These people don't know what they're doing. I'm going on the second week of a 24 to 48 hour wait for a fix on something that I put in a fix ticket into, spoke to three different levels of support, still have got no satisfaction. So anyway, and on this note, before I bring Chris in, because it looks like Jacob Gunderson is on the roster today to get in here. I talked to Jacob. You know, the young man's working a day job, and that's important. You got to pay the bills. So he's working a day job. He may not make it in today. And if he doesn't, we will definitely bring him in another time. And if you all don't know Jacob, get to know him, Class and Chrome, and our contributor, helpful photographer, guy that we have working with us at 10-4 at different shows, Mid-America, Trucking for Kids, maybe the rodeo too. We'll see. But yeah, great guy, great work, and look forward to talking to him. The other JT in the house, Gerald Todd. What's going on, buddy? Good to have you in the show. Mr. Hill, Eric Hill in the house too. All right, listen. A couple more things I want to bring up before I bring Chris in. Invitations. I send out invitations to you guys every week, as many as I can. And that varies from 50 to 500. And here's why. If I send out 500 invitations and I don't get any responses, or a very small percentage of responses, weighed against the 500 that I sent out, Facebook doesn't have anything in between 50 and 500. It's either 50 or 500 you get to invite people. It's stupid. If you don't get the responses, you're down to 50, and then I can only invite 50 people. I look at them as a reminder. I know you guys know I'm here. You want to be here, you will. You'll show up. I get it. I also want to invite people that may have not been here yet, but I also want all my regulars, I want you guys to know I'm thinking about you. And if you're seeing the invitation, please do me a big, huge, solid favor and respond. And listen, this is social media. It's a conversation. You guys got to get into that habit. I've always said there's basically 3 levels of engagement. There's the, scroll on by. There's the reaction or like or not like, whatever reaction you throw in there as you scroll by. And then there's the guy or gal who actually makes a comment. So there's your 3rd level. Okay. Those are the 3 levels of engagement. In this process of social media, there's a lot of voyeurs out there, man. They'll just scroll, swipe, scroll, and no other response. Trust me. There's a lot going on there for us on the other side that are putting the stuff out there for you. We love it when you guys engage, when you converse, have a conversation with us, take the post to the next level, whether it's a picture, a video, whatever it is. Be a part of the conversation, man. Let me tell you, it's a great way for everybody to win in this thing. And then it takes Facebook's crap out of it as far as the algorithm. it goes in the favor of whoever's putting the content out there, and that's what we're all after. We all want to get back into the positive on this thing, and it's just almost impossible to do. Yeah, Randy. Right on. All right, listen, I'm going to bring our buddy in, and let me tell you a little bit about Chris Fiffe. Chris came into 10-4 many years ago. Eric Sieben put his big wing around him, and Chris was already onto a good path and a good track, and I think Eric was there to kind of help him along and do anything he could, or 10-4 could, to further that process and help somebody out starting out in the business. And I think I'm pretty good on that. Chris, give me a thumbs up if I'm on the right track there. But yeah, and I feel kind of like we're back on that same track again. We're here to help out any way we can to get Chris back up and running on Facebook. And you're going to hear why it's not so important from Chris himself. I'll go ahead and tell you. Chris, what's going on, buddy?
Well, howdy, folks. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Another good day up here in the Pacific Northwest, getting ready, I guess, for that last summer heat wave to come through, and then maybe fall's going to show up. The leaves are already dropping, so I don't know what's going to go on, man. But how's things in your neck of the woods? Where are you at today?
I'm still laid back on I-55 in Perryville, Missouri. I haven't left the area yet, and we'll circle back to that pretty soon, but
Okay.
that's where I am currently.
Okay. All right. Well, as I've been talking, your situation is what kind of brought me to invite you back onto the show. Not that this would have been the only reason I would bring you back on. You're always welcome to come on. But to have what happened to you happen, it just floors me, and to have essentially no recourse except for you to go back out and go to work at doing this again, it floors me. So I'm going to let you take the reins and tell everybody kind of what happened to Big Rig Videos on Facebook.
Yeah, so it was something that, like we talked last week, after 13 years of avoiding and dodging all of the shysters and the scammers and the people that send the emails and everything, there's finally one email that I thought was legit. And that was the one and it wasn't just the email, it was a series of things. And so these folks were so slick, and this was so new that I hadn't heard about this particular, exploit yet. So you actually have a screenshot.
I was going to say, are you okay with me bringing that up? I guess so, right?
Oh yeah, because more than likely anybody else that's running a channel, even yourself, may get the same email.
Which I have. I get it all. I get this one and other ones inviting me to other shows with the same conditions. So go ahead, Chris.
Right. So I was always approached by these emails or people to, hey, use our product, give us a product review. And none of the products were a good fit for the trucking industry. So, I didn't respond because, again, I typically work from a desktop computer, so I'm able to hover my mouse over a link. So if you actually hover over so people can see in the bottom, typically in the bottom right-hand corner or whatever, you'll get you'll see where the link is going to go. So you can look at the URL and know that it's legit. It's going to match the text that is on the screen, and it's not being masked. So 100% of the time, I'll just hover over any links to make sure they're legit and they're not going to some, weird location. And so,
well, and this one is it's not going to the right location. So let me just dovetail in real quick. If the URL that is on an email that you get from, in this case, the Breakfast Club, which is a legitimate podcast that has nothing to do with trucking, okay, and frankly, it's anyway, yeah. So it goes to info, the Breakfast Club podcast at gmail.com. If the URL is not at the end, like I'm John at 10-4 magazine, if it's not the brand, just run away, because that's going to be a tell right there. So go ahead, Chris.
Right. And even some legitimate entities will use Gmail just for the ease of things. Um, but in this case, I'm like, okay, well, it's like you mentioned, it's a podcast or organization that doesn't have anything to do with trucking. So I'm like, all right, well, here's an opportunity to potentially, you know, speak to a different audience, about what it is that the trucking community does.
Right.
And so I read through the email and I thought, okay, well, yeah, I don't have time to respond right now. So I just responded, I'm interested. And I went on to do other things. And the person responded back or emailed back about um, speaking ahead of the of a scheduled date to do this podcast to make sure the settings were right for this podcast, just like you use a particular third party program
Right.
to run this show. And
Right.
so there's things that are laid out pretty simply, and then if there's a person that's not done this before, they might need some help. So they were like trying to extend, hey, well, let's make sure everything's right. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, there's no reason for me to need any help with this, but okay. And because they're like, yeah, we're going to use Facebook to do this. And I'm thinking, well, all right, well, why? And so they're like, hey, well, what time do you have to get together to do a Zoom call to check your Facebook settings? So I'm like, well, next week sometime. And I kind of forgot about it. And I went back to doing what I need to do because I'm always busy pushing buttons and working on stuff. And so the following week came around and the person emailed. I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm like, well, I'm available now. And so they sent an email with a link to a Zoom meeting, which some people may have, gotten these before. And to back up a second, the purpose for me hovering over a link or anything like you were just showing a second ago
Yeah.
is to make sure that you're not going to get tricked. But the most important thing, and the reason that I want to talk about this stuff to the guys that are out there running a truck or might be doing 100% of what they do from their phone or their tablet, is that you won't have that opportunity to hover over a link before you click it. So if you're on your phone and you're doing something and you get an email or something like this and you think it's an opportunity, you can't double check it unless you get onto a laptop or a browser, because the phones just aren't made that way. So that's the number one thing that I want. If there's going to be a takeaway, that's my takeaway from this. For the guys that are running something, or even the creators, the trucking creators that are starting out, you got to double check some of this stuff, because if they got me, they can potentially get you as well. So going back to this Zoom meeting, so I hovered over that link. Okay, it was the same meeting number. Okay, great. I'm still not going to click on it because you can still mask some of these links so you can mask text. So like what you just highlighted, could be what it is that you're reading, but it could have a completely different direction or URL to take you somewhere else.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to zoom.com on my own. I'm going to put in the meeting ID number. That way I'm not associating any of my actions with anything that was in that email. So I put in the ID number. Great, legit. Excuse me. And so, the meeting came up, and, this is where, the saying, curiosity gets the cat, curiosity kills the cat. And so
Curiosity killed the cat. Yes.
yeah. So the meeting organizer didn't have his camera on. And so at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of these things. And so it was just a voice conversation, which so now I'm starting to become more aware of what potentially may be, a scammy type thing. But again, me being the type of person that I am, let me see what else they're going to do, because I'm gathering intel at this point. So the guy's like, okay, well, we're going to use, the Facebook business manager, and there's some settings that you need to be able to enable, which has to do with online events. And if anyone has used the Facebook manager or any of that backend stuff for pages and everything else, it is so confusing. There is so much stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm going
It's
to
a
say that in a
full-time
good
job
way.
just doing that. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say that in a good way because I'm still utilizing Facebook for what it is. It's a platform to
Mhm.
disseminate information, but it is so freaking confusing. There's just so much stuff in there.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I'll make a video, I'll make an image post, I'll post it. I might check some analytics, or I might check to make sure that the dumb, bots aren't doing their thing, and then I'm back out to doing, real things with my fingers and real life, and then I'll check every once in a while and I'll look in on that stuff. And so when it comes to, like you said, there's people that have full-time jobs to run these pages because some of these business derive 100% of their interactions with their customers go through Facebook, and I
Right.
don't.
Right.
Thankfully, that's what I was so happy about, is that I don't derive any income resources. I don't depend on Facebook for my daily work at all, other than putting stuff out in front of the trucking community, and that's what it's
Well,
always been
it
about.
represented but it gave you a super great representation to leverage. I mean, you had over 800,000 followers on that page. So, whether you were or weren't, you weren't leveraging it, but it was still a great body of work, and it really
Right.
showed your efforts, how positive they had turned. Now, I'm gonna come right out and say it, it's not gonna happen again. It's just not.
Hmm.
In the way
Right.
that Facebook is built now, it won't happen again. It's
Hmm.
I'm watching a lot of new creators come in, and I have, for some of them, they've been out 10 years and they're not there. I mean, they're not even close. They're not even breaking 10,000, some of them.
Hmm.
So, it's a whole different animal now. And
Oh well, John.
everybody, yeah,
John,
go ahead.
you never say never. I
Well,
finally caught on what you're saying. You never
yeah,
know, because I've
yeah,
not said, this is the first time actually saying something, quasi publicly about it. But
you're
John's
right.
referring to getting to a larger number. But yes, the way that Facebook is now, it's not like it was, 13 years ago when I
No,
started the Facebook page, and in 24 hours I had 22,000 people that liked the page
yeah,
within 24 hours,
yeah,
as opposed to now. There's so much more that people are can put their interest into. But you never say never. But again, that's not going to be my main focus. But you
right.
mentioned body of work. Thankfully, I'll just jump to parts of the end of the story. Thankfully, all of the posts that were made over the last 13 years are still there. So someone
Right.
can go back and find a post from, 2008. Some guys were talking about Travis Headley. He had the gold digger truck that I think it was 2017, somewhere in there. And we're having this conversation, so we can go back to that and find that. And that's what I was most worried about, because it's everyone else's families and fathers and uncles and stuff like that.
Right.
But going back to what happened is, so now, okay, so the guy's like, okay, well, let's go into the business manager. And he did have a non-American accent, a an accent that we
Go
all can
ahead.
identify with
Red
not
dot.
being legit. Right. So I'm like, okay, so maybe the guy, maybe, but it was a cleaner dialect. It wasn't like very hard to understand, but it wasn't like you and I talking.
Right.
So he's showing me, he does a screen share, and so he's showing me on his side what needs to be done. So again, this is pretty benign. All right, he's not asking me to take control of my computer, nothing like that. He's showing me the steps on his computer. So I'm like, okay. So I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I'm following along. And I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing too devious about this just yet, until he's like, okay, well, what we need to do is, you need to um, invite yourself to these online events. It's online event was an actual, subsystem. And so I'm like, okay, it's strange. And so when I go to click on it, well, well, nothing's happening. All right, well, you got to, email yourself, blah, blah, blah. And so I did that. I receive an email. I what did I do? I moved the email over to another window because I needed to log in at this point. So there's things called keyloggers that will log information, keystrokes. And so if you're not aware of those things, if your computer phone is infected and you go to type out a password or whatever it is, and it's infected with a keylogger, the person that has sent that to you will be able to read all of your keystrokes or your button presses to be able to reconstruct passwords and all that stuff. And
Yep.
so I was cautious about that. And so I logged in again, and I'm thinking to myself, this is, why do I have to do this? This is dumb. Much like all of the system of what Facebook is. It's just really confusing, but all right, great. So I did it. And then I receive another email that says, it used a name that I wasn't familiar with. I've never heard this name before, is now part of Big Rig Videos, and so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh crap.
They were made
So within
they
phishing,
made themselves an admin is what you're trying to say.
right, basically, yeah. And so through the phishing process, you think you're logging into a real page, and they do this with banks and bank logins and stuff like this. You think you're logging into a real, a portal for your bank, but it's something that's been constructed that that captures your information, and off it goes. And so
Yep.
at this point, I didn't say anything right away, and I went back a step and I looked for all of the access, because I had a ghost account that was logged in as an admin, and I think at the time one other person. And so I went back, and that new name, I went back and I deleted those as quickly as possible. Let's say all at 15 seconds. And I says, well, who's so and so, that name that I'd seen. And the guy starts getting defensive, and he's like, well, that doesn't have to do anything with us. That's on your side. And I'm like, okay, crap, And so at this point, I knew that there's something ridiculously dumb going on.
It was
And
sounding more sideways.
within 30 seconds, 45 seconds, I go to circle back to the Facebook page, the Big Rig Videos Facebook page, and I didn't have access to log in anymore. And so initially, like you said, effectively, I was booted out.
Yep.
So the second thing I can say to people, if you're running a Facebook page, or and you're trying to do something serious with it, that blue check mark that some people have, and in the beginning, they refer to it as like a vanity kind of thing, the blue check mark, you can also, prove it's you or whatever. I got it because it allowed me to speak directly with someone at Facebook.
Right.
And, message someone at Facebook and actually talk to a real person. Because if anyone has tried to do that previous or in general, it's impossible. It is virtually impossible to contact anyone at Facebook and get a reply, period. And if you
Yep.
do, it might take some time. So $15 a month, I started paying for that maybe, let's say 6, 7, 8 months ago, whatever. Because I had some questions and I wanted to, arrange some things and, make sure everything was so. And so when this happened, when I was, booted out of the page, I contacted someone, through the messenger thing, and they're like, okay, because you don't have like the page, the Big Rig Videos page wasn't verified. So that page, the Big Rig Videos page, didn't have a blue check mark. My personal account did, but because the page did not have a check mark, they couldn't take any immediate action. And so they're like, well, we got to make sure that you are you. Great. Facebook of all things, making sure that I'm the person that I'm supposed to be. And when you got all that other stuff going on. And so
Yeah.
the guy's like, well, you need 3 forms of identification, government ID or something equivalent, some, paperwork that shows your association, to Big Rig Videos, like a bank account statement or this or whatever it is. And then a letter that is basically formally stating what I want them to do, which is basically reinstate me as the owner of that page. And so the guy was just shooting this information out so fast. I'm like, dude, I didn't say dude, but I wanted to slow down, because here I am dealing with this situation, trying to figure out what happened. Because in the meantime, I would refresh the Big Rig Videos page and look at the follower number, or just look to see if there had been any weird posts, because sometimes that's what happens. They'll start,
Yeah.
monetizing the page and posting all sorts of weird things. And then the followers can know immediately that the page has been hacked. I didn't see any weird posts, but I started seeing the the follower number go down. 700,000, 500,000, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's odd. And then, eventually went down to 500 people, during the course of me getting this information ready for Facebook. And then the page was you could no longer search for it. It was no longer available.
Yeah.
And so I was
They
still
unpublished
communicating.
it.
Right. They unpublished it. So I was communicating with the Facebook person. At this point, they had the information that they needed. And they're like, okay, well, it's going to take 24 to 48 hours.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just watching this number drop, and I'm thinking, this is not cool. And so I says, well, I can't see this page anymore. Can you guys see it on your side at least? And so the person said, the Facebook person says, yes, we can see it. I'm like, great. All right, cool. That's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to make sure that all of that post history was still there. If that would have gotten deleted, that would have been the worst thing that could have happened, because that's not my history. That's the history of the trucking community. And all of the people that, I've interviewed over time, going back from, Kenneth Fisher, Josh Lemke, Josh Van Wagner, all these people. I can go on, naming these guys and all these interactions and these videos that people come up to me and say, hey, well, I watched this video when I was in high school. Now I own 3 trucks, or I run my own trucks, or,
Yeah.
I've learned this, or I got my own authority because of watching these other guys, when I was, 16, 10, 13 years later. Now they're men doing their own thing, but they had a starting point. It was because of those other people that had been interviewed. So it wasn't like me putting my face in those videos. Every single video you see me talking about some weird topic, or just, talking. No offense to anyone that does that, but those videos were about other people and their lives, and showcasing them. So all of that was intact. The page was just unpublished. So I just had to wait at this point. And so eventually, 24 hours, 36 hours later, they says, yeah, everything's legit, sort of the paperwork. We're going to, publish the page again. But they did so with 500 people. And so when I spoke to you over the phone, you explained something that I hadn't heard before, and it made sense. So maybe you can, share with the folks what you believe happened.
Well, we talked about a few different things. Are you talking about why they harvested your followers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on here is they're harvesting followers, and what Facebook is doing in the aftermath of this is, because of privacy issues, while all of this pilfering was going on and your followers were being harvested into other pages and other businesses and then monetized, they were being sold, is what was going on. And Facebook says, well, we can't do anything now because everybody's privacy is our number one concern, and we can't go back in and change anything around. It's been done. It wasn't, they're not going to tell you, well, it was done and it shouldn't have been. They're just going to say 24 to 48 hours and we'll give you an answer, which, let me tell you what, like I said, I'm 2 weeks into waiting for one of those responses back.
Mm-hmm.
But people are out there stealing and harvesting likes and followers, and any way that they can get them, they will. And in your case, almost sounds like they wrote a program that enabled them to do this in a fast way that I've never seen done. I've done this myself, but I've done it because I have merged pages before. And if you have pages that you want to merge, you used to be able to do that. You still can. It's a little more of a process. That's why I say at this point, they must have wrote some kind of a program, some kind of software to do it and to get it done. But what was happening is Facebook basically gave an amnesty to everybody out there that said, Facebook said to everybody, if you are running your personal profile, your personal timeline, remember it used to be called a wall. I mean, I'm going back a ways on that, but there it is. They were saying, if you're running your personal profile timeline as a business, we're going to shut it down. And they still will do that. So let me just say that's something you shouldn't be doing. Now, they gave everybody a chance and said, okay, you can convert on your own, easy to do. Convert all those followers that you have, all those friends you have, everybody over to your page. And you'll start a business page with, X amount of people. It could be 1,000, could be 500, could be whatever it is. This is similar to what happened here. The process is similar. They took what you had already and just moved it over to another page. Everything that's out there now, and I'm going to kind of take a little bit of the reins here at this point, Chris, and while we're talking about your specific situation and what happened, if you get an email, if you get a text, any kind of digital communication, a phone call, and you don't know who it's from, my recommendation to you is do not respond, do not take the call, do not answer the email. If it's somebody that's really trying to get a hold of you, they will get a hold of you. And if you're being put in a position where, the email that I brought up, and I'll bring it up again, because I don't know if you saw this, Chris, or not, but let me bring this up. Where I highlighted it was right here. Did you notice that it's up to $4,000 now? The talent fee, what they were going to pay you or me, whoever they're trying to, persuade into showing up. It was $2,000, then it went up to $3,000. Now it's $4,000. So these guys, look, they've gone and they've fished around to the websites that you have, that we have. They've gone to our social media and they've gone, oh man, these guys got hundreds of thousands of followers. They're not throwing, just casting out into an unknown pool. They know exactly where they're casting. That's why it's called fishing. And they're out there looking to gain and steal from all of us. That's what they're doing, to build whatever it is that they're building and to resale everything that we've done to somebody else. So, yeah, and to answer that too, Chris, you got, brought it up. Here it is right here. The question was, is Big Rig Video still there? Yes, it is. You will have to go in and refollow it or re-like it, unless you're one of the lucky 500, right?
Yeah, right.
That didn't get. Go ahead.
I wonder if those were bots or something like that. All of those fake profiles and everything.
Yeah, well, exactly. And here's the other thing too. So ebbs and tides. We are in a constant flow up and down of our numbers of our followers because of what Chris just said. And that is the bots. Bots are robots. Okay, they're AI, and I mean, I got to tell you, man, when social media started out, there was a lot of skepticism, but you know what? It worked, and there was a lot of good stuff going on. You go back to MySpace, and what's his name, looking back at everybody waving. The guy that created MySpace, that was his profile pic. Tom, yeah, Tom, right? Be a Tom. Everybody be a Tom. So MySpace, this really cool thing. I lost Chris. Well, he'll be back. And then Facebook comes out, and it's like, oh man, this is the new frontier. Now we got this whole new animal. Well, now it's where it's at. And again, I'm going to go back to what I said when I started out this conversation with Chris. There are so many broken pieces and parts at so many different levels to this that you really just have to be ultra careful and conservative about what you do. Allowing people into your world, know who you're allowing in. Now, not only on the intake, but on the outtake, you're liking and interacting with pages, with reels, with videos, all of the different ways that you can interact in social media. Facebook, TikTok, X, YouTube, all of them. Instagram is now more social than ever. There's Chris, he's back. Instagram is now more social than it's ever been. If you notice on the desktop, and I haven't seen it on the app, and Chris brought up a great point about some interactions and differences between how these things work versus desktop, phone, tablet, iPad, so on and so forth. They all are device responsive and driven by the iOS that they have, whether it's an iOS for an Apple product or Android. And all of these apps and websites and everything know when you go to them how you're entering, how you're coming, what you're driving. They know what you're driving. Okay, they got your IP address, and they know what you're driving to get there. So you're going to get the best possible interface and effect. All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, to break it down in layman's terms,
Yeah.
you know, you or I can look at the viewership. So I can go to the Facebook page or YouTube channel and I could see, you know, the ages of people, the age breakdown of people, you know, how old, the age range, male or female. I can look at
who, what,
it'll
where,
break
and
it
when,
down
man.
to what city. Yeah. What city they're viewing from. Obviously state or country. Device, you know, Apple, Android, or whatever it is. It's so, and that's cool for you, myself, and John, but they're collecting all of this information, and but there's also the bad people, the assholes that are doing things in a way that that's just not cool. So yeah.
There's a lot going on in our little world, and all of us joke about how, you know, we'll talk about widgets, you know, left-handed and right-handed widgets. And I'm just using that as an euphemism, obviously. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Left-handed, right-handed widget, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden in your Facebook feed and on your phone and everywhere you look at a screen, it's been populated now with what you were talking about, trying to sell you one or tell you how to make a better one or get the best one around, whatever. You guys know this. Well, that's a fact. It's true. Now, I have something else that this is something that you need to know, and I'm going to bring it to your attention right now. You guys are looking at my phone here. You can see that that's my lock screen. Okay. When I open up my lock screen, there's my home screen. All right. Up in this corner on an Android, iOS has the same feature, but up in that upper right-hand corner, if you have a little green dot, you're being watched. You are physically being watched. One of your apps has a camera open and turned on and is watching you.
And what is that? Or what phone are you on? I was responding to somebody in the text, so
I'm on an Android. I'm on a Samsung 22, you know, S or whatever it is. I mean, my phone's 2 years old, and it doesn't matter. The new ones are doing this as well as mine. Mine's still in a serviceable state because it's you know, it's still a relatively new phone. Phone cycles are, you know, 5 years basically, depending on what you buy. And me, when I buy a new device, I buy the max, whatever it is available at that time. And if I can add anything to it, then I do, so that I have longevity. And I also have resale value. This phone's loaded. It's got the max memory, the max RAM, the max, you name it. It's going to be worth the most money when it goes for resale. Bottom line is, think about that when you're buying. But my point of this was, if you have a green dot up in this corner, and I know I've got a lot, there we go. If you have a green dot up here on your Android, that means you're being watched.
Interesting.
Camera is on. There's an app that has an active camera on you. Now, that being said, I would imagine that the microphone is on as well, and it's listening. Now, there's no green light indicator for specifically for a microphone being on, but there is for the camera. My best advice to anybody is, if you really want to, you know, and because here it is, man, here's the camera. You're facing front camera. It's right there. Anytime you're sitting here, which we all are, talking on our phones with, microphone and speaker on, because we don't want to be like this all day anymore. We did enough brain frying back in the early age of cell phones. Some of us
Mhm.
with a brick, and others, as we, progressively got smaller. We're here, but we're smarter too. And the phones don't put out 3 watts like they used to either. These are micro wattage phones compared to what used to be in our hands, which could cook things, and they did. So you got that camera in front of you. If you seriously are concerned, you put a dot in front of it, black it out, whatever. Anytime you somehow cover it up, you're not gonna have anybody watching or able to see what's going on. Otherwise, the opportunity is there, and the reality is that all of our devices are listening in basically a slumber mode. Um, you know, to check on our safety, to monitor our purchasing, our conversations, everything that's going on. No joke, man. This is no joke. That's the reality of it. It is happening. So you got to
Mhm.
take your own security that you have control over, especially email, text, phone calls, all of the inbound stuff. Take control of it. Make sure that you have nothing coming in that's going to be able to get you to a position where you're vulnerable. Passwords, unless you have stellar passwords, you need to change them all the time. And honestly, every 6 months is not ridiculous. Some people more. I have stellar password security, so I'm not worried. I've had breaches, meaning I've been notified that my stuff has gone out over the dark web, but my passwords are solid. In Chris's case, he got led into something and brought them into his world, and that's where you're the most vulnerable, because he kind of gave up everything to this person, this group, and they took it. And that's a very, very, I would feel violated, and man, would I be
Mhm.
pissed. God, I'd be so pissed.
Yes.
I
But to be specific, as far as
Yeah.
took everything, they took the followers. So the people watching now, you might be a part of some weird page that you've not, pressed follow on. So
Right.
that's the only thing they took. They moved the followers. They didn't take
Yes.
anything else. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. That's right. That's right. And going back to the kind of the base of this, I also said the outbound stuff is important as well as the inbound. Outbound means everything that you follow, everything you like, you have a reaction or a comment to. And I've said this to you guys before. Know who you're interacting with. I don't know if y'all follow the gal that her name's Balin. She has Tourette's, and she started in social media, just posting on TikTok, and had a huge explosion of a following. And then Discovery or TLC, one of those channels, picked her up, and they're doing a reality series now of her. Well, there's a ton of Balin pages out there. And here's what's going on now that's making it harder to find out who these people are, is they're calling their page a fan page, and there's no specific information being divulged as to who's running the page. Whereas if it's an actual page, that information is public knowledge, and you can find it on the page on Facebook.
Mhm.
And these pages have nothing to do with Balin. And this is just, I'm using her for an example. Her actual account has over 1 million followers. The clones that are out there, one of them had 500,000 followers on it, man. And that's probably one of the biggest pissers out there to me in social media now is, you know, what did hot looking chicks do before there was social media? Because now all they got to do is show up and they get 500,000 followers. So guys, you know, your vote, it counts for a lot. I mean, it really does, because there's a lot of us, and they add up. And
Mhm.
make sure you know make sure you know who you're following, who you're engaging with, and what you're supporting. That's my message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Chris, as far as this stuff that you had happen and what was going on, that's the unfortunate and bad side of things. You've been out and you've been out all over the country cruising around, and you've been at some shows, and you're still out and about. And like you said, we were going to get back and circle back to that. Tell us about where you've been and what you've been seeing.
So did you get those thumbnails that I sent you? I texted them to you. I didn't tell you that I was sending them, and so you probably didn't have time to ingest them into your system. So I
I
apologize.
did not. Shoot.
Yeah, yeah. So the first show that I
Man, I'm
went
seeing them
to,
now. Crap. There's a bunch in here.
yeah.
You know what? I might have a way. Keep on talking. Let me see if I can bring them up.
Okay. So the first show that I went to last month was the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show in Biloxi, Mississippi. And that was a good time. The folks that put that show on, they do their best to raise awareness for veterans. And a lot of people come to that show from, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and, the surrounding areas. But it is literally on the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, however you want to phrase it. It's on the beach, on the water.
Gulf of America these days.
Yeah.
And which picture are you referring to? I do have them up on my desktop, and I can bring them up now.
Okay, so I numbered them. Oh, well, I numbered them with 01. So because I did some stuff with Brad Garrettson, I did some NASCAR stuff. So I was going to talk about that. That's non-show related, but it was still more kind of like a vlogging style thing. Let's see here.
The numbers are not showing up anywhere on my system.
Okay.
I'm looking at them on my phone. And
well, let's bring them up. We'll talk about them out of order because it always a good time.
Yeah, we'll bring them up on desktop. Maybe this is what we're looking for. So let's go. Number 1. Here we go.
Yeah. So I was talking with Brad Garrettson, and I said, "Hey, man, you're pulling a trailer for Toyota Racing Development, TRD, to these NASCAR events." And I was curious about, what the setup was, what was involved, and all the other stuff. And so last year at some time, I said, "Man, it'd be cool to ride along with you, to see what to tag along and see how things go." And so I flew out of Tampa to Cincinnati and rendezvoused with him, with Brad, and hopped in his truck, and then we drove to the Pocono Raceway. And so in that particular video, we just talked about some, random things, kind of caught up on his life and things like that. What had happened, what has happened since, working with, Roland Transport and stuff like that. And so that was a live feed that went out. And then the next image that you had there was what it takes to.
It's fighting me here.
Oh, okay. Maybe get a
there we go.
First one. Yeah. And so that's the Toyota Racing Development trailer. They call it a technology center. And so the process of setting that up was pretty cool to see. And in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a Ford Technology Center. And then to the very far right, that was a Chevrolet Technology Center. And these two other gentlemen that I got to meet, their tasks is to, get these centers set up so their team members can come in during the race and go through all of the, racing telemetry and monitor things and make calls, and they're interacting with the pit crew and all of the stuff and the chiefs and all of the things. I was still learning about NASCAR at that point, since that was my first race, but it was really cool. So you can see a lot of stuff in that video. And then whatever the next image is, it might be, okay. So Mondo Cardona, again, going back to the history of all of the videos that I've done over the last decade plus, Brad was one of the guys I interviewed. I actually met Brad on one other occasion, I don't know, 10 years ago. But Mondo Cardona in the image here, he and I have been friends, or lots of folks know Mondo Cardona. And it's cool to see where guys go through their trucking career. So, Mondo used to be an owner operator, living in the North Carolina area. He had the opportunity to drive a hauler, a race car hauler. So, impromptu video. Hey, well, show me what you do. Walk me through the steps of getting, this thing parked, setting it up, pulling out all of the stuff. And it was pretty cool. It was really eye opening because obviously we all know a lot of things depend on trucking. And so even, NASCAR depends on trucking in a way, in a very important way. And there were some other videos that came out of this as well. So I had a lot of fun doing that. And what was cool is that I didn't have to carry around a lot of equipment. But going to this is what I was talking about, the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's an air-conditioned show. They had well over 100+ trucks. I didn't get the official number, but enough to keep you entertained and to be at a truck show under air conditioning in July
Yeah,
is
that's a
awesome.
big deal.
Yes. Yes. And what I'd say about this show is that most indoor shows, they're skewed toward vendors and a little bit of trucks. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what trade shows are all about. But this show was more trucks sprinkled in with some vendors. So it's really enjoyable. And there's a parade that goes up and down the boulevard that's right along the water. Beautiful views of the water. Again, within that video, you can see how the proximity, probably, let's say at 1,000 feet to get to from the front door of this convention center and put your feet in the water. And then there's restaurants, there's casinos, there's so much to do. If you want to bring your family, you got stuff to do, and no one's going to sweat. So there's that.
Indoor
So
in the middle of summer and in the sweat belt of the USA. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So a week following, I went up to Oakland, Nebraska, which is about an hour north of Omaha, Nebraska, for the Midwest Classic. And the folks up there, great. They are great. The folks at the Biloxi, Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show were great also. But it was so cool going from the Gulf and being surrounded by water and beach and sand and all the stuff like that, tourism, and going up and being surrounded by cornfields.
Yeah.
But still being around the same, truck loving, hardworking, people that run America, and seeing them lay back and have a good time. No pun intended to the following show, but this show, again, a very laid back show, right off of Interstate I-55. So I left Oakland and I had some time to kill. In between, I had like a week to kill in between, and that's where those other pictures will come in. But this show is right off of I-55, about an hour and a half south of St. Louis, and I'm still here in the area. And that's Regan Dan's comment.
Yeah, I put it up there on
turn,
the screen.
Yes, they do turn the lights off in order to have a light show, which is pretty cool. So it's like they can control the lighting and control when the light show is, and so they do that several times a day. But the Laid Back on I-55 show, that benefits what is it? Gosh, I've drawn a blank.
As far as charity,
a very worthy cause. Yes, all of them benefit charity. It's a very worthy cause. It'll come back to me in a second. And the same thing with the Midwest Classic. Salt of the earth people providing money for folks in their community that can use it best. This show, as you can see, the buildings there's restaurants to go into, wander in and out of. There's stuff for the family to do, the kids to do, candy shops, ice cream shops. It's all there. And within this video as well, I got to talk to some of the owners of the the businesses that run the Airbnbs, so there's places to stay right there on the square. And it was just a really, really cool time. So it was my first time at both the Midwest Classic and laid back on I-55. And so I'm still here in the area, and I'll be laid back on I-55 for a little bit longer, because if you cycle through some of those images, I'll dictate what's going on. And one of them, this was
Looks like
after
beer's going on here, buddy. Is that what's hanging you up?
Yes, no, this is pretty cool. So this was after the Midwest Classic, and so I was staying in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I'd come down an hour south to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was working with Josh Paisley of Timty Trailers. They have a really great equipment trailer that will be doing. They'll be featuring. I'll be creating a video, film the process. So there's the video, but where I was staying was right above this brewery, and this is the owner that we're looking at. So when I was looking at the beer menu, the first beer that I saw, it was called Jake Break Blonde Wheat Ale, something like that, right? And so I'm thinking, well, that's pretty ironic.
I see that. Yeah.
That's ironic. Well, maybe there's something wrong there. And I continue reading the beer menu, and then there's another beer named, the Wiggle Wagon. I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute here. And then another beer named, trucking thing beer, and another beer. And so if you look over his shoulder which would be his right shoulder there's a picture of C.W. McCall on the wall.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And so the story is this guy, the owner of this brewery, used to drive, and he started a brewery. They have a distribution hub. They brew the beer about an hour north, but they wanted a spot downtown, so they have 4 or 5 beers that are dedicated toward the trucking industry. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And so we sat and we chit chatted about something the first day I was there, because again, my room was right upstairs. And so the next day I came down again, because they had great food, great beer. And so we talked about truck stuff some more. And this is, well, before I leave, I'd like to interview you about the brewery. I think it'd be kind of cool to do a quick video on a brewery that is kind of trucking themed. And so
it looks
that's
like
what
9 of the taps got trucks on them too. So it's pretty in your face there when you see those tap pulls on there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so before the end of all of this, talking to the owner, Marty there, I said, I have an idea. And so I ran that idea by him, and he was all on board for that. So once I get some things squared away, I'll be able to circle back to that more than likely when I, release the quick video and talk about that.
So I think here's where you were pointing towards about why you're still around in the neighborhood.
Yes. Yeah. So everybody knows the Mission Control. It's a great car and everything else, but it's got some electronics on it that decided that it wanted to, go left field. So basically, the ECM for the car needs to be replaced, but because of the age of the car, it's 19 years old. You can't buy a new OEM ECM for that car. A company called Flagship One, they will make them. They'll make a certified lifetime warranty ECM, but it takes 2 weeks to get it. So I rented a car, and I says, you know what? I gotta be in Missouri to film the show, and whatever happens with the car. And so that's me, fitting everything out of Mission Control and into this cute little rental car, which I, managed to do a couple of videos out of. I had some cameras strapped to it and some other things, and was looking, more than likely looking strange going down the road when I pull up to these guys that are heading south with these cool trucks, and they're looking at, what the heck is this thing? So I wasn't sure how long I was going to have that rental car for, and I had a spare Cobra 19 CB radio, but I didn't want to buy an antenna because I'm thinking, well, maybe the car's going to be finished. I'll just buy a handheld. And so I bought a handheld radio when I was headed south to Perryville. I was talking to a couple guys on the little handheld and everything. It's so funny. And so one guy, he's like, "Hey, is that Chris in there?" And I'm like, "Yep, that's me." I'm driving something that I typically don't drive, but yeah, that's me in there.
You got a couple of more photos in here I want to get out and share with everybody. And if everybody's wondering, we're going to go along with Chris here. So just hang with us until we're done, guys.
Yeah, there's a really important one that you probably see already, and that other folks
I've
that
seen
will
it.
be
Yeah,
curious to know about. Yeah.
I'm saving that one.
And
And
so
then
here, these
go ahead.
folks, if anybody does anything with racing or following racing online, either street racing or racing at tracks, they'll more than likely be familiar with 1320 Video.
1320 Video. Yep.
Kyle Loftus, yeah, Kyle Loftus, they're in the black shirt, and Mac Verbanik. Those are super awesome guys. The rest of the crew is awesome. I've gotten to know them over the last decade, and so Lincoln, Nebraska is about 45 minutes from where they are. Probably a little less than that. So when I came in the town the first time, before going up to the Midwest Classic Truck Show, we got together, had dinner, and I says, hey, well, I'm going to have a week to kill, and I'm going to be in the Lincoln area. So they're like, hey, well, let's hang out. Do you want to be on our podcast? And so I'm like, yeah, sure. So I got to participate in the podcast. So that was cool. Talking to like-minded, video guys, photo guys, just like when I talked to you, John, about different things. And
Yes, sir.
that's one of the cars that they're raffling off, a right-hand drive R32. So it's so cool to see what they do, and how Kyle, knowing Kyle, he came up from nothing in terms of filming to where he is now. And so that's cool, where the things that we're able to do because of social media and because of being able to broadcast ourselves, it's a good thing.
Now I got the last one queued up here, and do you have anything you want to preface this with?
No. The only thing I'd said, once I realized that I knew Bob Spooner was up in the Midwest, and I had spoken to Ramona Briggs, his wife, and I had to find out exactly where he was. And when I realized, the information that she had posted, said that he was in Lincoln, Nebraska, the same town I was going to be in for a week, I said, there's no way that I'm going to leave the area without going to visit him.
Yeah.
And so I went to visit him, and before going to where he was sitting, because Ramona, his wife, said that, sometimes he's sitting in front of a window. So I went and I spoke with a nurse, just to say, hey, how is he? How, the presence of mind and everything else. And she says, well, he has good days and bad days. He's, hard of hearing, so you got to speak loudly to him. And some days he's chatty and he's talking and everything else and funny, and some days he's not. And so this was one of the days where, he didn't have anything. He was not chatty at all. So I sat and I talked to him, and I showed him some truck pictures on my phone, which he looked at. And I says, all right, well, I know I got to come back up there to get my car, because again, my car is in the same town that he's in. And so I'll go visit him again, because he's in a facility where you can, check in, and you can walk up to his room, and you can visit with him. So anyone that watches this, if you're in the area, Lincoln, Nebraska, you can find a place to park, make it a thing. Go get some beer at that brewery, and then, go see Bob, just to say that you did it. Because, going back to, what he has done, throughout his career, and how I've gotten to know him, to be in the facility where you may not get visitors often, I think that's something that if you got the time, do it. If you don't got the time, try to make the time. So yeah.
I'm going to ask, is Bob staying there? Is he a permanent resident?
Well, I didn't speak with, I can't answer that specifically.
Okay.
I know at the time of his accident and after his accident, he wasn't healthy enough to be moved back to the West Coast, where he's from.
Okay.
And so I haven't spoken with Ramona over the phone to get that information. So yeah. Okay.
So I would say best advice to anybody that's out there now, or if you're in that area now, take advantage of the time and the moment. Don't say, well, hey, I can do this another time, because now's the time. Guys, get over there and say howdy to Bob. And so he's not there, and maybe they move him back to the West Coast, and that gives everybody out here a chance to maybe look them up and spend some time with them and at least, hang out.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we ran long and that's all good. Thanks for sharing everything, Chris. I mean, there's a lot there to digest. I know everybody listening had a lot of comments and I know there's a lot of education going on here on this stuff and we can go on forever about a lot of different layers of it. Just be safe out there, guys. Know what you have coming in, know what you're communicating with going out, especially on the incoming side, because things don't always end up being as they appear. And same thing on the outgoing. And when I say outgoing, I mean the pages and the accounts on social media that you decide that you're going to like, that you're going to follow, that you're going to have a reaction to. Whatever you do, consider whatever
Mhm.
you do out there, it's your vote. Okay, your vote. It's your vote that you cast. Make it worth something. Make sure you know where it's going and it's going to a worthy place.
Yes.
A lot of pictures. I'm glad we were able to bring all those up. I've got a new way of doing that now. So
That's good.
yeah, it worked out really well for us. So I'm glad that happened. Jacob, if you're listening, buddy, we'll get to you next time, and hopefully you get some of them trucks washed that you're washing. He's been out there washing trucks off all day, and that's why he couldn't make it in here. They're buried. So, Jacob Gunderson again, great contributor to 10-4 magazine. Jacob also does a calendar once a year, and he has a calendar coming out. So we'll get Jacob on here to talk about that and how you guys can get one of his calendars and how he helps us out at 10-4 with all of his work at the shows. It's always good to have another set of eyes and a camera out there working with us and making the magic happen. Same thing with you, Chris. I think we were going to try one time last year, and you ended up getting busy going somewhere else, and it's just the way of what we do, right? You're always moving and always doing something. So, but one of these times
Mhm.
we'll get out there and be able to do some stuff together and have some fun at a show. What do you got coming up, man? What's happening next?
Well, basically, I'm gonna hang out here in the Missouri area for probably another, 5, 6 days or something like that, and then head back up toward Lincoln with the anticipation of my car being ready, and then head back south. And until then, I'll still be laid back on I-55, shooting some truck pictures and putting things out and doing the work that I need to do. So it all works out. I have to say, thank you to the Stiegel family. I'm at their home, so they've been gracious enough to allow me to stay with them. So, but sitting here, trucking away, so to speak, with trucking work and everything else.
Okay. You guys see a Jeep? Is it a Wagoneer?
What's
White
that?
Jeep, a white Jeep Wagoneer trailing you down the road there in a truck.
Oh, no, that's a Toyota RAV4.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
If you see a
Yes.
Toyota RAV4
Yeah,
and
it's not
it's
as cool.
dogging you out on the road, it might be Chris Fiffe. So
Yeah. Yeah.
could be out there stalking you, mission control out of commission. I'm surprised, not surprised on the ECM on your car. But the aftermarket industry out there has done, they've taken it over. Somebody had to, right? I mean,
Mhm.
and it's not
Yeah.
just your car. I
Yeah.
drive an '04 Volvo that, same thing, rebuilt ECMs, man. That's you
Mhm.
can't get anything from Volvo. None of these companies are servicing their older products. Then everything's coming from secondary market. So yeah,
Right. Yeah.
crazy.
And the way that I look at it, again, this hopefully it makes sense for all the guys that run the trucks that they run. They've had them for decades. They know exactly what, you know, how to work with them, how to repair them, how to troubleshoot them. So it's just a matter of swapping parts out. And so I feel the same way with that car. It's, the body's in great shape. Everything I've swapped everything else on it. I've done all the work on that car. So I'm like, okay, well, what's the point,
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
to swap up.
Yeah,
But when it comes to the electrical components, like what you said,
yeah.
I had to I sent stuff out to California since a couple of main components out to have them tested, and they came back with a good bill of health. But again, with the way that the ECMs are, it just, I guess that one went bad. So
Yep.
we'll
Yep.
get it
No,
done.
I'm with you 100%. I've got two vehicles. One's a '06 Dodge 3500 dually truck and an
Mhm.
'04 XC70 Volvo. And both of those vehicles, I mean, they're literally as new as the day they rolled off the showroom floor, especially the truck. I just got it out of the shop after a 2-year rebuild.
Mhm.
And I mean, we did
Oh
everything on
wow.
that truck. Everything. The Volvo, the only thing I haven't done on that is the mechanical on the engine. Everything else has been done.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's paid for. I don't have a payment, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
I just, I saw a brand new truck listed today that was comparable to what I own. It's
Mhm.
$115,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. And maybe a effing wow. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
115 grand, man. I mean, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's not doable. I mean, it's doable, but it's, I mean, who wants to spend that money?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, it's just, I am just floored, man. Like 115 grand for a truck that, you know, okay, you used to spend 30 grand on,
Yep.
probably. Yeah, 30 grand. Now it's 115. And
Yep.
I mean, you look around on the road and see them and you're like, holy crap, man. Guy's got another house payment,
Yes.
You know,
Yep. You got that right.
and I mean, I listen though. There's guys out there that are doing it, man. I see a lot of bitchin' trucks at our truck shows. Guys, bringing their 6-wheel, 4-wheel rigs at the shows, and I get it. You guys have got some serious coin dropped into your
Mhm.
pickups. Not to mention your rigs, but
Yeah.
holy crap, the pickups are just
Yeah.
like, whoa. I like my '06 Dodge, man. It's a sleeper. The paint's shot, but everything underneath the metal's good.
Hmm. Yes,
It's all
sir.
it's all good. All right, Chris. Listen, it's always a pleasure talking with you. And when we get offline again another time, we'll talk shop and that way we don't bore everybody with all the stuff. But all the stuff that we talked about today and what happened and how to avoid it and stay safe. It's important for you guys to know this because you're in this environment. You're out there, you're bored in your truck, and you're messing around. You think it's all fun and games until you know something bad happens, and
Yeah.
and it can.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Last thing too, two-factor authentication. That's another thing that
yep,
I didn't mention that
yep,
is very helpful.
yep.
Hopefully people they're familiar with that already, but that's another thing that should be done.
There's most of the services out there require it, so you have to have it before you can continue using the service. I believe me, I get it. It's a pain in the ass, but the alternative is not good. So yeah,
Hmm.
if you haven't turned it on, get it turned on. You'll get notified anything's going on in any of your accounts if you're on a certain. If you're not online or whatever, it doesn't matter. You'll get a notification. The key again is engagement, and that's paying attention to what's going on with your phone. If you get a notification, mine just beeped. I don't know why, but I'm going to look at it real quick
Yeah.
and see what's going on. But uh and I just got a message from one of our viewers, and there's Dan on there too. But when you get notifications, if your phone's picking up emails and you get notified, or you get a text message, it depends on how you set your app up, whether it's Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the list goes on. However you set that stuff up is how you're going to get notified.
Hmm.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Facebook, as a rule, by default, does not email you. Everything is done within Facebook. It's a very clandestine app. They don't want you leaving. That's why they don't
Hmm.
want links on any of your posts that you send out. They don't want links that take you out of Facebook, and you get penalized for doing that. That's
Hmm.
why it's that way. What's Rich Burkett? It's telling you hit the lotto and
Hmm.
win a new Dodge truck. That's right, Rich. You're not kidding, man. Yeah, I need to hit the lottery, and then I can go buy a new truck and donate my old one, or buy somebody else a new one and keep my old one. I don't know. Anyway, all
Yeah.
right, listen, everybody, it's been good. Chris, you got any final anything else besides two-factor authentication to offer everybody?
No, other than see y'all out there somewhere at a
All
show
right.
or on the highway or whatever.
All
Appreciate
right. Be
y'all.
looking for him. He's out there. Be listening too. You might get a phone call or a little small radio out there shouting out you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. A little weak radio.
it might be Chris Fiffe of Big Rig Videos out there trying to
Yeah.
chase you down. All right, Chris. Take care, buddy. We'll talk soon. Okay.
All right, man. I'll see you.
All right, Chris Fiffe, everybody. Thanks you taking the time out to be with us. I know Chris has got a lot going on, and it's probably 8 o'clock back there where he's at. So thanks everybody for hanging with us. We went a little long today, but that's okay. It's our show. We can do whatever we want with it. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for everybody that does respond, by the way, to the invitations that I send out to invite you to the show. Those of you that don't and haven't, or just think it's no big deal, it's not in the scheme of life. Unfortunately, as to how Facebook operates, it is, because if you don't respond, they don't give me back. It's like the budget. You get this budget and you got to spend all this money, or else you don't get one next year. Well, if I don't get responses to all the invites that I sent out, or a higher percentage of them, then I get reduced amount of invites that I can send out to people the following week. And again, like I said, I know you guys know that we're doing this. I send it out to a lot of you that are regulars. I want you to always feel welcome and you're invited, as well as new and first timers that haven't been here yet. That's how we can reach out and certainly get there. Hey, Robbie, I hope I sent you one, man. I thought I did. I thought you made the cut today, buddy. And I'm almost certain you did, but check and see. And if you didn't, I'll make sure I get you in next week for sure. All right, everybody, keep the shiny side up. Be looking for Dan and Shan up in Oregon, up there at the Brooks show, and check and see what other shows that you want to go to, 104magazine.com. Also get registered for the 104 Trucker Rodeo coming up in November. Registration opened up on Friday, and it is open and ready to take your name. Sign up for your events. Do all of your event signing up at once. Don't think you can go back and do it again or again. You have to redo the whole thing, I guess, if you don't sign up the first time for everything you want. So get exactly what you want first time going around. Remember, we're treating it like Costco. Costco's got the items there. You think they're really cool. You'll come back and get it next week. Can't do that. We got to be like Costco. You go in, you find it, you like it, get it now. All right. Keep the shiny side up, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.